but they got misled from the first sentence too, so you really have to do some work there.
And maybe seeing if they think that the main idea is the first sentence.
Every time?
Every time, yeah.
Okay, so if you look at slide 7, I've already given you the reteach task, and so I want you to take a minute to read the reteach task, and then I want you to look at slide 8 to see if you agree with the exemplar that has been scripted or if we need to change something. Do you agree with the exemplar? Okay, what would the look fors be for mastery so that we can write down what we would monitor?
Again, those sentence frames.
Mm-hmm. Do you agree that it would be this list that we've already created?
Yes.
So the main idea supports the topic.
Mm-hmm.
I intentionally chose this passage because if you look, the main idea is a couple sentences in.
Mm-hmm.
It is explicit, but it's within like the third or fourth sentence, so that'll help with your reteach if you really push that. So main idea supports the topic. Must have at least 2 details. And in order to really hit that part of the standard, we have to make sure they explain the connection. Alright, so both of you said that show call would be a really good way to do this, to show the exemplar. So what I kind of felt the same way, so I'm really glad we're on the same page with that. And what I want to do is show part of Fuchi's show call from last week. I'd already asked her if we could show it. She did an amazing job, and what I want us to do is really look at how she took the exemplar and guided the kids through that conversation to see how that inference matched what they had read in the text.
So I'm going to say it in a different way so that maybe we'll understand it a little better. So an inference is kind of like a judgment. So when you make an inference, you have an opinion about what the author is saying in the text. So I've put an inference up here about what we read, and I want you to evaluate it. So I want you to talk about what this means and if there's evidence in the text to support this inference. Okay? So someone talk to me. Someone talk to the group.
I think they were treated unfairly. I agree because it says right here that they hold camps and they didn't help them.
I can build on what Brian said because I could say that the input that I can make is that Cherokee Indians were treated unfairly because the USA Chiefs was kicking out the Cherokee Indians from their homes and forced them to separate because if they wanted to, so they separated the families.
I thought the army didn't let them go in there. And then they go in to live together.
Okay, so how does that tell you that they were treated unfairly? So you guys are telling me good text evidence. How?
I told them that they treated unfairly because they're not letting them live inside where they can be safe and everything, and they don't let them go inside so they're not safe where they're on.
I also can build on what Brian says that the USA Chiefs are not treating Cherokee Indians unfairly, unfair, because since they're kicking them from their home and they're like taking out all the space and Cherokee Indians.
I
them out wasn't fair, right? That's why they were treated unfairly. Is there any other evidence that suggests that they were treated unfairly?
Oh, well, era 6 como one of the 5 Turkey died. You guys have something to know that they are having treated unfairly.
So like they had to go on a journey.
Can you pause that? Yes.
Okay.
I have
So she then goes on to give them a partial, right? A partial exemplar, partial mastery after that?
They read their own and compared it to the exemplar, just the first part of the making the inference.
Okay, so how did Fucci, and you can join in with us, how did she ensure that the students owned the academic discourse within that show call?
She didn't say anything. I'm really impressed. I have the hardest time with that. It's so hard. Like,
Well,
she let them, like, struggle through it, but it was, I mean, it was good.
So you reflected when you watched this the first couple of times, you said that you did a lot of head nodding.
Yeah.
So what could she have done to try to, because that's a natural reaction when we're trying not to speak, but we want to like keep it going,
We need to do what the uncommon schools person does.
which is
Like, she always has something, like a book in her, like her notes in her hand, or
okay,
a
what
binder
would
or something.
what would be in her hands?
I'm sure it's her
The
notes, like her guided reading notes or something.
So
So she's
you're-
looking down at that and she's writing. And the first time I watched it, I was like, "Woman, pay attention!" But then I
Yeah.
realized when Grant said it, like that's how she does. She steps out, she stays out of it, and the kids have no choice but to have the conversation.
So you know how we do the aggressively monitoring and we decide these are the look fors, just like in your reteach when we said what are the look fors for mastering. So she could definitely have that checklist going, and you ensured that every student had some type of like there was every student contributed somehow. So you had the opportunity to see who could say what about it, and you're just sitting there checking off, and then that way.
I'm not nodding like I'm doing right now.
Right. But you did a really good job of practicing like wait time. Like Maya, you were like, I'm not letting
Yeah,
go.
I know. It was good.
And so one of the things to make this even stronger would be to do that like look for checklist so that when they walk away, you know who you need to still talk to and work with to get there. What's the other thing that we reflected on afterwards when we were talking?
I think you call it stamping the thinking, so that they are all talking. There's some things that aren't right in there, but they're getting to the point. So kind of just solidifying what to take away from the conversation.
So really just going back and reiterating that for them. All right, so go ahead and you've already pulled up your reteach lesson plan format, but if you'll go to that, and if you'll go ahead and fill in the top, take a few minutes to fill that in for this week's reteach lesson. And then when you get down to the end where we put in the student names, let me know.
So for common error, is like I'm just gonna put an identifying a detail instead of the main idea. Is that what wrong?
Yeah, that was the error you identified.
Whoa.
Mine did the same thing. I was
was like, what did I just do?